Let's review this game. So the game started with Caro-kann and e5, advanced variation. Bishop f5, this is one of the book moves. So the most common move for white is like either h4 or knight f3. Divide the pieces at the king side because white has this e5 pawn, which give white much greater space than black at the king side. So usually white will attack on the king side in this variation. So it's better that we divide the pieces or push the pawn at the king side. So in this game, white play c3. Well, I think it's a bit early to push the pawn to c3. So usually we can wait until, for example, black play c5. And c3, black play e6, knight f3, that's good, and knight d7, and bishop f4. So actually I think we can move the light square bishop first, and or later move the dark square bishop. The thing is, for the dark square, actually, because the majority of white pawns are at dark square, so actually it's a little bit hard to determine what is the best play for dark square bishop. For example, bishop f4, but it's still blocked by its e5 pawn. So we can wait until there is some open files or open diagonals that our dark square bishop is able to control. Another thing is, if we move the bishop at early stage, this b2 pawn will be a hiding piece, and black can attack the pawn. So we can move the light square bishop first. For example, bishop to d3 to offer exchange with this f5 bishop. This f5 bishop is a great asset for our opponent, so we can offer a trade at the beginning. The bishop f4, c5, black push the pawn, and we take the pawn. So I feel like we can, hold our pawn at d4 and wait for black taking our pawn, because if we take the pawn, our e5 pawn will be a little bit isolated, and black can develop pieces after the exchange. So this exchange favors black. So we can wait until black taking our pawn, and we can take the d4 pawn. So that makes our c3 like helpful. So otherwise, I don't think it's necessary to put the pawn to c3, because we want to support the d4, right? So take the pawn, bishop c5, bishop to b5, want to pin the knight, and knight to e7. Okay, then we move bishop back to d3. So I will castle first and move the rook to e1 to strengthen the e5 pawn, otherwise it will be a weakness, for example after knight g6. And I will move the bishop back once black castle, because right now our bishop is like pinning the knight. That's the purpose with bishop b5, right? So we move bishop back and forth, it wasted like one move. Bishop d3, and also I think we will lose a pawn, right? If queen to d6, f2 is a weakness, b2 is weakness, this is double attack. And if we move queen to d2, black can take our bishop, and if we have to take the bishop, and we'll lose a pawn. But during this game, black didn't find this opportunity. It castle, and we take the bishop, and then we castle. And knight h4, black offer a trade. So usually if your opponent offer exchange, so usually the suggestion is not accepting the exchange, because if we take the knight, for example in this case black would develop the queen. So we can move the knight to d2, for example, to connect these two knights. And if black take our knight, we can move the d2 to f3 to support e5. So we can basically develop the b1 knight. Queen h4, bishop g3, queen to g5. Black is aiming at e5. So this is, as I said, after d4 pawn being removed, so the e5 become isolated. Rook e1 and b5, knight d2, develop knight, that's good. And queen to e7, queen to g4, knight to b6. So can we trap the bishop with b4, right? So the bishop is trapped. Knight b6 is a blunder. But why miss this opportunity? Bishop f4. Knight c4, take, bishop h6, and then f6. Yeah, I feel like f5 is better because it attacks the white queen. f6 is a little bit passive, but it still can save the g7 pawn. Oh yeah, so we noticed this this pin, but we didn't look at how black will attack our weakness. So bishop g5, bishop f2, and we lost one pawn after exchange. And black turned to be better. And e5, queen e7 is a good move. We can attack this weakness and also move the queen at the 7th rank. It controls a lot of space. So this queen is really annoying to our opponent. Queen f8. So I feel like black can play queen f7, protect the pawn, and offer exchange. So we want d5, that's good for us. h3 to resolve the background problem, that's a good defense. Queen f2, queen f7, a3. So, oh, that's a blunder. So the question for us, for white, is how can we like maximize our advantage? Now we have up one pawn, so potentially maybe rook d8, queen d6, or even queen e7 to offer a queen exchange and control the 7th rank. And black made a mistake, and we won at the end. That's a good job.